Alrighty y'all, welcome to Ellis Mowers. We're going to do this is a Briggs and Stratton Quantum engine. It's got the auto choke on it. I am having terrible troubles with an auto choke on this thing, even with the new carburetor. Just the spring and the exhaust flange and stuff just doesn't want to work right for me. So I'm going to put a primer bulb carburetor on this, which isn't too hard to do. Let me show you how. Just need to find the right tools that I need. You might have a beauty cover on the top of your engine. That might look similar to this. This is a Troy Bilt, so you'll have to take the 2 screws off for this. And then you're going to take a 5/16 inch nut driver, which I seem to not be able to find right now, but that's okay. There it is. It's actually under on my stool there, because I just used it. So 5/16, you're going to take off 3 nuts on the top here. 1, 2, and 3. And then there's a 4th bolt that you can take out right down here. Let me show you. For the gas tank. You don't have to, but it's right there. It's a 3/8. Usually what I do, if you can do it carefully, I usually just lift the gas tank back, and that gives you enough access to where you can get a 3/8 in on the cover. And you can get the cover off, and then we'll continue here in just a second when I get that cover off. Alright, so let me get this off the cover. I've already done a little work to this, so you'll see it's a little bit different than what you'll see. But you will have this arm right here, and then this tab right here will be actually for like a heat sense on the exhaust, and I've got it bent all up because I was kind of using it as a last resort, but it'll be kind of in like that, if you can see that, because what this does is it pushes it back once it gets warmer. That way the auto choke, that way it's not trying to choke it out when it starts when warm. I've just got it bent down. We're not going to use this nor the choke arm anymore, so I'm going to take a 1/4 inch. I'll put you on the tripod. And this is a common, there's probably plenty of videos on this. This is a very common thing to do for a lawnmower. Now, I'll get y'all down here. Now, I can't get y'all down but so much. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the carburetor off now. 5/16 takes this cover off. 3 5/16 will take the backing plate off. Oh man, I put those in there kind of tight for some reason. And I know this carburetor works. It's just the whole auto choke mechanism on this mower is just not really working very well for whatever reason. Let me grab a 5/16 socket. We'll get this taken off here. All right. My goodness. You're not supposed to put them in this tight or very tight. I don't know why I put that one in so tight. My goodness. Not terribly important on an auto choke, but on a primer bulb it's very important because you don't want to warp the gasket on it. Or warp the plate on it, which I don't think I've done on this one. But some of the older ones actually come with like a little insert panel for a primer bulb, as you can see right there. So what you do now is they make a tool for these, but you can do a flathead screwdriver, or I guess I'm doing a Phillips here and having good luck with it. And that'll get you in there. There's no screen on this one, unfortunately, but you pop the primer bulb in, and you can turn this into a primer bulb setup. So that's what I'm going to do here in just a second. Now the next thing I'm going to do is get a 3/8. Get a 3/8. We're going to take the carb bolts off. I'll take one off, and then I'm going to take the gas line off. What I usually do there is just pinch it off with some vice grips, like so. Grab some pliers and just take the fuel line off. Just like that. You will have a little gas come out, that's no big deal. We're going to put this on. Just as a background of this lawnmower, I've got in a lot of 9 push mowers. I think this is number 7 or something like that I've worked on and basically fixed. I'm just changing this out to a primer bulb setup. But anyways, you got the old carburetor. There's like a little, you got to pull it off of the arm of the throttle, and then you're off. So now we're just going to put things back together. Let me grab the carburetor. We'll go ahead and just do all this on camera here. I'm going to go grab the carburetor. I'm going to go grab some primer bulbs. Carburetor. Primer bulb. Primer bulb needs to be the one with the hole in it as well. So we'll go ahead and pop these on. If we do this right, in theory it'll work. Of course, lawnmower repair is always fun. Especially when you can do everything right and it still ain't right. But anyways, flathead screwdriver. We're going to push the primer bulb into the tabs on the top of the top and the bottom of the backing plate here. There we go. And just like so. That one kind of broke on me, but the primer bulb is in. And you can verify, you can feel air coming through it, so we got it in there. Carburetor, they make special tools for that too, but most of us backyard folks do not have those special tools, so I'm just showing you how to use it using regular tools. New carburetor does not have the little auto choke on it. I'm going to pop that in. Just pop it into the throttle arm just like you took the other one out. Your 3/8. Oops. Easy to get your bolts mixed up. The 3/8 that have a little bit of gap on them right there. That's the ones you're going to use for this. To put it back together, just make sure you keep your hardware straight, especially if you do not typically work on these. Which I guess that many of y'all potentially watching this video do not, but hey, you never know. I've actually only done this. I've done this a few years. I think I've only done a primer bulb conversion on one, like two. I think I've done one twice, so it's not really something I do very much. Most of the time I just swap carbs and call it a day, but this one did not want to play ball with me, if you know what I mean. So we got that carburetor on, and we're gonna throw the fuel line back on it, and we'll go ahead and put the air filter housing and all that back on it too. Get my 3 5/16 inch screws for the air filter housing that look like that. What I typically do is double gasket back here on the back for the gasket for that between the housing and the carburetor. It just helps ensure a better seal, because this primer bulb is air operated as opposed to fuel operated, like a lot of, say, weed eaters, the Briggs and Stratton classic push mowers. So you got to have a good seal in order for the air to be pushed through. Had a little bit of debris in there I wanted to kick out. Tell you what, while we're at it, we're going to go ahead and put the fuel line back in, or the fuel line clamp back on it. We're going to pop this housing back on. Again, this is the same housing, I just put a primer bulb on it. Some of these do not come with a little filler. The newer ones do not. So if you're lucky and you have an older auto choke setup that just has the filler hole or the filler piece in the housing, then you are in luck. You just have to put a primer bulb in it. If not, you have to source one. Whether you can find an old mower with it or something along those lines, you know. It's just whatever you can find. So we're just putting these 5/16 back in. We're going to ensure a good seal here in just a second. Sometimes these things are a little finicky. So now I've got to ensure that there's fuel getting pumped up into it. Which I don't think there's any gas getting to the carburetor right now. No, there should be, but sometimes you have to, these new carburetors, you got to give it a little shot to get it to start priming. But once you get it to prime, you're good. Yeah, I don't think there's any gas getting to the carburetor right now. And that's most of the carburetor's doing. So let me go ahead. We're about 13 minutes here. I'm going to go ahead and put the engine cover back on it. It's fairly important that you gotta put the oh, I had the fuel clamp still on. I do this all the time, y'all. It's a wonder. That would prevent the gas from getting into it, because it sounded like it was priming very well, so it didn't make any sense to me. We're putting the screws back on it now, though. Now, in theory, we should be priming great. Not yet. Like I said, the first one I did, I had to put it on. And then I'm going to put these last two bolts on, and then I'm going to, we'll go ahead and finish this up. Alright, y'all, I'll put you on this side. This is something I had to do to the previous carburetor that I got in the slot. I ended up having to prime it, as in like with some carb cleaner, to get it to go and then prime after that, and it's running. I mean, the mower's running great now, but let's see. And I could have an issue with the housing. We'll troubleshoot it, because these are also issues that you might have when you convert this. So I'm just priming it just to see if I can get it to crank, and if I can get it to stay running, then we'll see if the primer bulb and stuff's working. This is what I had to do with the previous carburetor. And these are, in mower repair, these are things that I cannot explain why they do what they do, but they do. I primed it and ran it for a few minutes, or for a few seconds there. You see, it's priming great now. I don't know how well y'all can see that. You see the fuel coming out of that brass tube there? And I don't know what it is about those carburetors that do what they do, but that's just the way this one was, or that these are. So don't be discouraged if you do all this and have the issue with it. Put the air filter on it, beauty cover back on it. It'll probably starve for a few seconds or be flooded for a few pulls before it actually runs here, since I primed it a lot. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it sit. After I do this, I'm going to wash it, let it sit, and then I'm going to prime it to make sure that it runs, and then I'll sell it. excuse me, that's how you do that to change it from a primer bulb, or from an auto choke to a primer bulb setup. This setup is going to be a lot more reliable than that auto choke, because I was having trouble with it, like I said, and I wasn't going to worry with it too much. You know, you get what you get with the Chinese carburetors too. These have not been the best batch that I've ever gotten by any means. So I've got that going. What I'll do, just as a treat for y'all, I'll go ahead and clean this up and make it look pretty, and then I'll give y'all a final look and start of this push mower before I sell it. Alrighty, y'all, here's the final look of this Troy Bilt, as it's cleaned up all of these over time. Especially these older decks, just the rust starts getting to them real bad. This one isn't too bad yet, but I've got one, I'll tell you, I'll show you in the truck here. I actually took the self-propel off of this one, but look at this one right here. It was eat out all to pieces right there. I was actually like being funny and like jumping it up and down, but anyways, this is how you change it from a primer bulb to from a auto choke to a primer bulb. This mower turned out pretty nice, so let me actually demonstrate. I'm going to demonstrate two things for you. The first is I'm going to pull it without priming it and show you that it won't start. And then I'm going to prime it about 3 or 4 times, and it should start for us. If it does start, then I'll show you that the primer works by pushing it in, and you'll hear the choke bog down on it. Make sure it has gas. Yep, plenty of gas. That's how you can test if the primer's working. Mower's got a bag with it too, which is kind of nice. I'll have to fix the wheels on the front there. This thing has got a little bit of water in it, so let me see if I can crank it back up. Like I said, I think we got a little bit of water in it, and so that's why it's not firing for me. Might have a little bit of short in this lead too, I'm not sure. But, as y'all saw, it runs and the primer bulb works on it. I'll give y'all a better running ending to this video though, because like I said, these are things that you can run into whenever you fix one of these. So I'm going to turn the camera off, and then I'll get y'all a final run video for this. Alrighty, y'all, the plug was sturdy on it, so I'm gonna let this run a little while. Self-propel works on it after I did the self-propel swap, so I'm gonna let it run a while after I finish this video. But that's how you switch from an auto choke to a primer bulb carb. It really only takes about 15 minutes as long as you have the parts on hand. Again, some of those auto chokes come with that little plug hole for the primer bulb. You can just pop out the plug and put the primer bulb in, and you're good to go. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully this will help out some folks tutorial wise how to do this And I appreciate y'all watching. As always, you can catch me at Ellis Mowers 09 on Instagram and Facebook. And I'll see you on the next video.